Okay, welcome to the tutorial. We're going to go over an introduction to templates in Clear Estimates. They can be a very useful tool. So let's go ahead and get started. So what are templates? Templates are a pre-made list of parts. The great thing is you can set up the templates now and use them on any project later. And you can also set up templates to calculate the quantities of your parts automatically. So you don't have to enter the quantity for each part. You can kind of set it up so that it'll calculate for you. So you do the work once and you'll be able to have it calculate after that. I want to just go over a basic use of how to use templates. We're going to use templates just as a list of parts. We're not going to worry about the calculations at all. That's going to be a bit more complicated, so we'll cover that in a little bit. So I'm just going to demo how you would use a template for just a list of parts, and that can be very useful. So we go over how to add a template to a project in a different video, so go ahead and check that out. What I'm going to do here is go to our templates, and this is where I can add and create or delete templates. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new template. So a template was created, as you're probably used to in the software by now. And I'm just going to call this basic template example. And I'm going to say this is to show obviously make this whatever you want. And we're going to do units of square feet, but it doesn't really matter because we're not going to be using that too much. So just click on save. And all we're going to do is use this as a list of parts. So let's say that I won't do a specific example right now. We'll just add a couple of parts. But say for every project, we always pretty much always do this. We're going to ignore these calculations for now. This is just going to be a basic example. We'll go over how to use these in a few minutes. We're always going to do an on-site survey for this type of template, and we're always going to do, let's say, pouring continuous concrete, and we're always going to do, let's just pick something else, labor to install some aluminum windows. Obviously, this project doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's not complete. But that's kind of all you would do, is you'll see this add part is pretty much the exact same as the where you would add a part to a project. It's just going to look a little different over here, and like I said, we're not going to use this calculation right now. We're going to go over that in a little bit. So I can go ahead and add another one, bathroom plumbing, and let's remove a vanity. So we've got 4 parts added to our template. You'll notice that there's no quantities. We didn't add any quantities of the part, and that's because templates are designed so that you can calculate the quantities later. So all we're going to do is save this template. Okay, you can see that's all there is. We just added a few parts, so you're going to go in and find the parts that you want. And let's go ahead and create a new project for Steven's sample. So let's create a new project. And we'll call this one very basic template example. Save. Okay, now you may have seen in the other video, but we'll go over it a bit here. This is how you would add parts one by one here in the standard view, but we're going to go into the templates view in order to add a template, and you'll see we'll be able to select a template from here. And let's see, called it basic template example. That's the one we created. And look at that, we've got our 4 parts that we added. Now we're going to go through this calculate quantities thing in a little bit here, but all we're going to do is we're just going to type in 0 for the square feet, click on calculate quantities, and then we're going to add this as a component, click on add template, and the template was copied. So we've copied our parts into here, but you'll notice we don't have any costs or anything. So now what you can do is come in and change the quantities. So you can do this right here. Okay, for on-site survey, you're only going to need 1. And for continuous concrete, we know for this project, we're going to need, 100. And labor to install aluminum window, we're going to have 10 of these for this project. And for removing the vanity, we're going to remove 3 vanities. So now we've gone ahead and changed the quantities so that we've got our project, but we didn't actually have to go in and add each of these parts one by one because we already did that in the template. this can set you up really easily. So if you do a lot of projects that are pretty similar, you may want to set yourself up with a list of these. This can be very useful. It's really simple. All we did is create a list of parts. We didn't worry about quantities. And then for each project, you could just go in and select the quantities that you're going to need. So that's a really good way to do it, especially if you're going to be working on a tablet or a phone, because what's going to happen is it's a lot easier to just add the template like we did and change the quantities rather than having to go into add part, find the part, change the quantity there. So that, that's a lot more difficult when you're typing with your finger rather than a mouse and a keyboard. So this can be a really good way to set yourself up with a pre-made list of parts. And you can do this with the existing templates we have as well. So let's go ahead and add another template. So let's just say we're going to do let's call it, we're going to do a garage. So we know we're going to do this, but we didn't, maybe we didn't set up, or we don't agree with the calculations for the quantities here. So we're just going to go ahead and add this as a component as well. You see we get there, add it as a component. Now if we want to edit these parts, you'll see we've got $0 value in these. So if I go to edit this component, we can change the quantities for each of these. So, excavation by of average soil. This is a cubic foot, so maybe 1,000, I don't know. And, we can just put in these different ones. You can also go into the edit part and, change any of the things like you normally would. But what this does is it sets you up with a really quick way to just go in and add a bunch of parts without having to go find them one by one. So you can find the parts and create a template to start off with, and then worry about the quantities for each project. So if we go back to our PowerPoint, that's just a really basic way. Use 0 as the template quantity, and then just go ahead and change the quantities for each of the parts. So you've got a pre-made list of all the parts you're going to need for a bathroom or a kitchen or whatever. Again, this is just a really simple example, not quite using all the functionality of templates, but is a good way to do it. Now let's get into a little bit more advanced of a way to do it. So this is going to be where we're going to set up actual calculations to be done by Clear Estimates. So we're going to do, it's still going to be pretty simple. We've got, we're going to have a business that does a lot of bathroom remodels. And in each bathroom remodel, we need a toilet, we need some tiling, and we need sinks. So how exactly are we going to set this up? Well, what we want to be able to do is type in the square footage of the bathroom we're doing and have Clear Estimates calculate the quantities of the toilets, sinks, and tiling that we're going to need, and then add those parts to the project. So it's a little different from what we did before. We didn't type in a square footage for the bathroom. Clear Estimates didn't calculate the quantities, but we did add those parts to the project. We just didn't add any quantities of them before. So now we're going to have Clear Estimates actually make these calculations for us. But we need to do a little bit of work to set that up. And so we got to think about how each of our parts is going to be set up. For the toilet, no matter what the size of the bathroom, we're only going to need one toilet. Even if you're doing just a small 25 square foot bathroom, or if you're doing a huge 100 square foot bathroom or something, you're probably only going to need one toilet. Maybe this is different, but you can always change that later. So, having just one toilet for no matter the size of the bathroom is probably a good setup. For the tiling, for every square foot of the bathroom, we need 1 square foot of tiling, which makes sense. You might be a little bit different if you want to, include a little bit extra for, just for some contingency, you can do that. But, we're just going to do a little basic example here. For every square foot of the bathroom, we need 1 square foot of tiling. So that's different from the way the toilet is, where no matter what the size of the bathroom is, we're only going to need 1, whereas the tiling is going to be based on the square footage. So if I type in 25 square feet, I want it to calculate 25 square feet of tiling. Or if I type in 50 square feet, it needs to type in 50 square feet of tiling. And now for the sinks, we're going to do the third way to calculate parts, which is for every 25 square feet of the bathroom, we want 1 sink. So that means if we have a 25 square foot bathroom, it's going to put that we want one sink. If we have 30 square feet of the bathroom, it's still going to only say one sink. Once we get to 50 square feet, it's going to put in 2 sinks. So that way you can sort of have a step up each time you get 25 more square feet, it's going to add another sink. And this maybe won't always make sense. If you want a 100 square foot bathroom, you probably don't want 4 sinks, but I can show you how you can change that later. So it's important to know how these calculations work. So what we're going to do is in the templates tool, we're going to set up our calculations. And these are the 3 ways that you can calculate part quantities in ClearEstimates templates. There's the fixed number, which is like the toilets in this situation, where it ignores the template quantity. It's going to just a fixed number regardless. So this can be something like toilets, or it can also be like project preparation. It probably doesn't really matter if you're doing a 1,000 square foot bathroom or remodel or a 10,000 square foot remodel. You're probably only going to need to prepare for the project once. Maybe you'll have a little bit of different cost for the project preparation, but you're only going to need one of them. Then there's the pieces per square foot. So this is like tiling. For every square foot, you're going to want a square foot of tiling. Or for wall framing, you're going to need some calculation. For every square foot of a room you're going to do, you're going to need some square footage of wall framing. And one piece every blank square feet, that's going to be like windows maybe. So for every 25 square feet or 50 square feet, you may want to add another window. So it's not directly calculated based off the square foot. It's just going to add one more each time. And this is done when we're in the templates tool. So we saw where we added those parts to the list earlier. When we're in the templates tool, we're doing things that are not for a specific project. So we're just telling ClearEstimates how we want it to calculate the part quantities when we actually do go to a project. So then once we do, we're in a project now. First, we're going to input a template quantity. So we're going to put in 100 square feet. And that's going to come in and it's going to calculate based on which type of calculation we told it to make. So if it's a fixed one, it's going to ignore the template quantity because it's always going to put in a certain number. If it's a pieces per square foot, it's going to calculate based directly off of this. So whatever this number is, it's going to calculate how many pieces we need. And for this one, it's kind of the same as this one, but it's going to do it a little differently. So if we add one piece every 50 square feet, every time we get to 50 square feet, it's going to add one more piece of this part to add. And then we can add those part quantities to the project with the parts. So instead of, in the last example where we had to change the quantities themselves for each of the parts because we left the parts quantities blank, this one's actually going to calculate those for us. Okay, so in this example, this is what we need to tell the template. For the toilet, we want one toilet per template, regardless of the square footage of the bathroom. For the tiling, we want 1 square feet of tiling for each square foot of the template. And then for sinks, we're only going to want 1 sink every 25 square feet of the template. So for a 50 square foot bathroom, we should come up with 1 toilet, 50 square feet of tiling, and 2 sinks. So let's go ahead and check out how that will actually work. So we're going to go back here to templates. Remember, we're working here in the templates tool because we have to create this. I'm going to create a new template and I'm going to call this basic bathroom example. And the unit type is going to be square feet because we want this to be based off the square footage of the bathroom. So we want to be able to enter the square foot of the bathroom. If you want something different, like if you want to be able to enter the linear feet of something or the pieces of something and have it calculate based off that, you can do that as well. But we're just going to do based off square footage. And let's go ahead and add our parts. So the first one I'm going to do is grab that toilet. So I'm just going to search, and we know that if we search through all, unless I spelled that wrong, then it might just take a minute. There we go. So we get our install toilet. So let's just say we want this. And remember we said, and I could just go back to this, so we've got it. There we go. For the toilet, we want 1 toilet per template, regardless of the square footage. So this is that fixed number of pieces. So regardless of that, we just want one toilet. So these are our three options right here. So we're going to kind of go through each of those. And you're going to click on Add Part. And you'll see there, it comes up with one unit per, or fixed number, which is one, regardless of the template quantity that we're going to have later. So now let's go ahead and find the tiling. And this really can be done on so let's just call this the labor. Oh no, let's do. So this one is labor only, or sorry, ceramic tile only, no labor included. So you're going to want to find the labor for this as well, but this is just an example. So the number of pieces per square foot, each one of these is a square foot. So we're just going to want one per square foot. So this kind of makes sense. We're just going to have 1 square foot of tiling for every square foot of the template that we have. But what we don't want is a fixed number of pieces. So we're going to want to make sure that's 0, and that one's still at 0. So we add the part, and you get in here 1 unit per piece, which is the square feet. And then the last one we're going to add is a sink. So I'm just going to type in sink. And let's just do that one, provide a pedestal sink, no installation included. Again, if you want to include the installation in your template, you'll have to find that part as well, but we're just gonna have a simple example here. And we said we want 1 piece every 25 square feet of the template. And it's important to remember that this is going to round down so that you always get whole numbers. So if you added in, I want 1 piece every 10 square feet, and then your template was 15 square feet, it's not going to give you 1.5 pieces. It's going to give you 10 pieces. It won't add another one, or sorry, it's not going to add 1.5 pieces. It's going to add 1 piece. So it's not until every time we go up 10, it'll add 1 more. So I'm not going to have any fractions of sinks being put in here. So if we wanted 1 piece every 25 square feet, add part. And there we go. We've got 1 toilet regardless of the template size. We've got 1 square foot of tiling per square foot of the template. And we've got we're going to put in 1 sink every 25 square feet. So let's just go ahead and click on Save. And if we go to a customer, let's create a new project. We'll call this basic bathroom example, save, and then we'll go back to the template view to add it. And just like before, we're going to just scroll down here and find the template, basic bathroom example, and we've got our 3 pieces. No quantities yet, but you see we've got our toilet, our sink, and our tiles. And what I'm going to do here is type in, let's do a 50 square foot, and we'll just go ahead and see if you click in calculate quantities. You'll see we've got 1 toilet because it's ignoring this 50. It's going to do 2 sinks because it's going to do 1 every 25, so we're going to get 2 in this one. And it's going to get 50 square feet of tiling because it's 50 square feet. So it's calculating exactly what we wanted to do. Instead of in the last example where we added them and had to change these quantities, what we're doing is just typing in the quantity right here, and it's going to calculate for us. It does take a little bit more work because it will mean that you have to think about each of your parts and decide how much you want each one to calculate to be. But this is a really good way, especially if you're on a tablet or a phone, where you don't even have to enter the quantities. All you do is find your template in the drop-down menu, type in the size, and click on Calculate Quantities. This is going to be really great if you're going to be doing a rough estimate because maybe you'll want to go in and tweak, and maybe you'll actually want to use 55 square feet or something like that. But that's really easy to change. So let's just go ahead and see that this works, and we'll type in 110 square foot. So we'll just calculate the quantities. So this is a pretty big bathroom here. Still, we've just got the 1 toilet coming in because it's completely ignoring this. It's just saying if you're going to do 1, you want 1 of these. Now it's saying we want 4 sinks. Well, maybe this is just an abnormally large bathroom. We're never really going to maybe want to install 4 sinks. You can just come in here and change this to any number you want. So now you've just got 2. So this template, even though it will let you, calculate these things, you're not stuck. It's not like if you calculate the template once, that's it. You're not stuck into using that. You can change this really easily to make it custom to the project. And remember, we're only changing this to a 2 in the project. The template itself isn't changing. We're just changing how it's calculating here. And then we're getting 110 square feet, but maybe we decide we want a little bit of contingency just for this project. So we're going to put in 120. And we can just go ahead and add that template again. And you'll see we've got our parts added to the project with the quantities that we put in. And again, you can change them really easily. Actually, we did want 4 sinks. Hey, really, we need 150 square feet of tiling. You can change these really easily. But these are a really great way to add parts without having to look them up one by one every single time. So if we go back to the presentation, at our demonstration, so why use templates? You can create the templates once, which means you do the work one time, and then you can use it on many projects. This is really important for projects that you do a lot. Set up a template. Start experimenting with using templates. You can use it on many projects. You won't have to repeat work. I know if you're like me, you hate repeating work. So try to set up a template and see if you can save yourself some time. It's a really easy way to create an estimate on a phone or a tablet. You don't have to type as much. Imagine having to scroll through a long list of parts like this on a tablet. It would be really hard to find. Set yourself up with a template and you won't have to find the part on the tablet. Do this on your computer. Set up the template on your computer, where you've got a keyboard and mouse and you can see more. And then use the templates when you're on your tablet or phone in the field. And then you can never have to worry about forgetting parts. That's a really important thing. If you really spend the time in setting up your template so that it includes everything you're going to need, then you don't have to think, every single time that you may forget something. Just do it one time. Set it up, think about it, make sure it's got everything. And hey, even if you do forget something, you can always add it later. You can always come back to a template and say, you know what, that basic bathroom example, these 3 parts do most of it, but actually I'm gonna want to do an on-site survey, and I'm gonna want one of those every time. So that's all it is. Now, next time you do this project, next time you try to use this template, it's gonna include it again. But we didn't have to think about every single time, oh right, I need a sink. Oh yeah, we need tiling. Oh, that's right, I need to also put in a toilet. Oh, and I need to include the project preparation and all that. We don't have to think about that every single time, so that's really important. And that's pretty much it with using templates. If you have any questions, give us a call or send us an email. We'll be glad to walk you through how to use templates. They are definitely a more advanced feature. So I recommend definitely getting started with using templates in this way. Use them as a list. Don't worry about the calculation of the quantities. Just use them as a list of parts. I'm sure you've got a list of parts that you normally would use on a standard project. You start using templates. And then, after a while, once you're comfortable with how that works, start adding in so that it calculates some of the quantities. And then slowly just add more of the quantities to the template. It's going to take you a long time to set up a template the first time, but if you kind of do it step by step, first just use it as a list, then add some of the calculations so that some of the parts calculate, and then add more so that more of the parts will calculate automatically. That can be a really good way to do it. Again, if you have any questions, give us a call or send us an email, and hope you enjoyed the video.